Super Bowl 2025 is just around the corner. And if you're lining up the grill and getting some snacks, you better add food safety to the playbook. Good evening and welcome to Give Me a Break. I'm Jonathan Carmody. Super Bowl 2025. If you're getting some snacks, go to the store. If you're making that big cheese dip, or you're cooking up those barbecue things like the ribs and all, you need to make sure that you get food safety on the line. Even if you work at a fast food restaurant, always remember to follow the food safety guidelines. And as we're about to show you, food safety is top priority when it comes to any event. What can you do to be safe? Here's Michaela Chavez.
It's the second biggest food holiday of the year.
Me and my friends are gonna go head out. I'll watch it up at their house. We're gonna have a whole little snack party and stuff.
Football lover Hector Salinas is planning on bringing out his favorite dish.
Like me first, I'm gonna bring some wings. My friends are gonna be some of their own things that they're gonna make.
But there's something he should avoid: the danger zone.
Avoid keeping perishable food out for more than 2 hours without heating and cooling sources.
That's Jesse Garcia with USDA Food Safety and Inspection Services.
If it stays out for more than 2 hours, there's a lot of bacteria that could build up on this perishable food that's gonna cause foodborne illness.
He says there's going to be a lot of food out for the 4-hour game. Food like...
We usually throw brisket, ribs, chicken on the grill.
So if you want to keep that food out for the game, Garcia recommends having heating or cooling sources.
Dips and deli meats, those dishes should be placed on bowls of ice to keep them at 40 degrees and below.
Which is something Hector Salinas Sr. already had in mind.
Rice and beans, all gotta be in the refrigerator. Not like you got Tupperware everywhere, but most guys are out in the backyard and we really don't got time for that. So get a nice chance to put all your food in there so the flies will stay away.
Garcia says you can also follow the halftime rule.
Bring out one set of food portions during kickoff, and then during the halftime, pick out a second portion of food.
Following those food safety rules for Sunday's big game will lower your chances of becoming a statistic.
The CDC estimates that almost 48 million people get sick each year with foodborne illness.
And when it comes to leftovers,
Your potato salad, eventually, you gotta put it in the refrigerator.
you can keep them in the fridge. But after 4 days, you'll either freeze it or throw it out. And one final reminder, and one of the most important, wash your hands. And that goes for handling any type of food, whether that's takeout or handling the meat that you prepare. With your neighborhood news on the South Side, I'm Michaela Chavez, Chris 6 News.
Not many people know food safety. And me, myself, I know personally. Wash your hands. Water should not exceed over 110 degrees. 20 seconds in soapy water. If you do those things, you won't become a statistic. And clearly, not many people know about food safety. I mean, you used to work at McDonald's, right? It's not that hard to learn about. It's not just about keeping hot foods hot and cold foods cold. There needs to be safety involved. And clearly, you may sit there and be like, well, I don't know about food safety. That's why you gotta take a food safety class if you're gonna be working at restaurants. Start taking it very seriously. Ernie. And also another thing I want to point out here is my voice is feeling a bit raw, but we're gonna keep on. We're gonna keep moving on like I did last time. So if anything happens, we're going to keep pushing forward. So it's a little raspy at first. But don't worry, it's not going to be like back in. It ain't going to be like last time. Matter of fact, let me show you. Let me go back to that example.
Okay, try imagining this case scenario here. You are the sheriff, and you're tired of all these school threats happening. So you take matters in your hands by arresting an 11-year-old who made a school threat and having someone videotape it and post it on social media because the sheriff claims that that the parent is not raising the child properly. It's exactly what happened. It's happening in Florida. In Florida,
That's going to be the weird thing on season 8. We never had it. We never done a show to where I almost lost my voice. But it's a little bit raspy at first. It's feeling a bit better. But we're going to keep pushing forward. And like I said in future references, we are going to be doing. I will have someone fill in for me if that person decides to do so. If not, I'm going to tough it out. But Project Baltimore is going to be toughening it out for themselves when they take on that judge. So what's going on in the Baltimore City schools? Well, you'll find out when we return. Please stay with us. Those test scores that all the community wants to know. Well, the Baltimore City School District is under attack again from another scandal. This time it involves the funding surge. Baltimore City student test scores are still the lowest in the nation since the pandemic. Despite a surge in funding, Baltimore City students' test scores remain among the lowest in the nation. The results were released by the federal government, and these scores have renewed calls for the city school CEO to be replaced. What is he or she doing to prevent this from happening again? And will there ever be a new CEO put in place? Here's Chris Papps.
My name is Pastor Shannon Knight. With your support and your vote, the next mayor of Baltimore City.
Former Baltimore City mayoral candidate Shannon Wright is often skeptical of government press releases.
People are going to tell you all the wonderful things that they want to hear the best way they can spin it.
So when Baltimore City Schools last week posted this press release to its website summarizing 2024 federal test results known as NAEP, Wright wanted to know more.
That press release isn't going to educate or equip a child that graduates to be able to hold a job.
While this press release explains a lot, it's what City Schools does not tell the public that Wright believes is the real story.
We have a broken system.
NAEP stands for the National Assessment of Educational Progress. Every 2 years, the federal government tests 4th and 8th graders in math and reading in all 50 states and 26 large school systems, including Baltimore City. In late January, NAEP released the 2024 results. Soon after, City Schools posted an article with this headline: City School students make 3rd largest gains in 4th grade math on National School Report Card. That statement is true. Baltimore City's 4th grade math scores rose 8 points since 2022. City School CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises is quoted, "Our 4th grade math performance is encouraging. We know our approaches are working." But what City Schools does not mention in this article is that even with those gains, Baltimore City recorded the 4th lowest score in the nation among the 26 large districts tested, which is consistent with where the school system has historically ranked.
The fact that we are the 4th worst is embarrassing. And it should be embarrassing to everyone that lives here in Baltimore.
City Schools, in this release, mentions 8th grade math scores largely held steady since 2022. In fact, they were unchanged at 245. But again, what North Avenue does not mention is that that score also is the 4th lowest in the nation. In reading, City Schools tells the public, performance holds steady, which is true. 4th grade reading scores rose 1 point since 2022, while 8th grade reading scores fell 1 point. But similar to math, those results place Baltimore City among the lowest performing districts in the country, which is omitted from this press release. Instead, City Schools writes, the district's focus and investment in high-quality curriculum and instruction contributed to noteworthy results.
And I'm nauseous on that one. It's noteworthy, all right. It's noteworthy the fact that it's not working.
Wright, in 2024, ran for Baltimore City mayor as the Republican nominee. She lost to incumbent Mayor Brandon Scott. But during the primary campaign, many Democratic candidates joined her, such as Bob Wallace and Sheila Dixon, in calling for City Schools CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises to resign, largely over concerns of declining student performance.
We have to fix this. There is a direct correlation between the poor performance of education and criminal justice with youth. If we do not fix our schools and our system, we will not fix youth juvenile justice.
Santelises became CEO in 2016, 9 years ago. The following year, in 2017, NAEP released results from the first assessment taken under her leadership. These are the scores from 2017 compared to 2024. You can see the scores in every single category are down, and Baltimore's scores in 3 of the 4 categories declined by more than the national large city average during that same 7-year time period.
If we want our city to work, if we want our economy to grow in our cities, we have to improve education. And Dr. Santelises has shown that she's not capable of doing the job.
Keep in mind, these NAEP scores were released at a time when City Schools' budget is skyrocketing. Last year, when the NAEP test was given, the district's budget was $1.7 billion, up $400 million since 2020. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore. I'm Chris Pabst. Thanks for watching. Here's another story to watch. Also, if you have a story idea.
Okay. Let's relook at that test score.
NAEP released results.
Look at this. 2017 compared to over 5 years ago. There's a 10% difference. And just like these, this would have been tied, but if this had been up there, it would have been tied. That just leads to show you that this person right here needs to be replaced. If that person's replaced, they need to hire a new CEO to work on fixing education. They've got to do better. And if you don't do better, you're going to be called out. Do better. Always do better. And look at this. A -3 drop in 8th grade from 2017. It was 243. In 6 years, down to 40. All this CEO's fault. So step out of the shadows, come forward and say, I'm going to resign. If you don't, then they'll start marching down your doorstep. And it will not be a best one ever. Coming up, a gas scam. Coming up, a gas scam not the stove one, the one you get at the pump. A gas pump scam you probably don't even know about until Brian Ross tells you. Please stay with us. We've shown you some few scams throughout the years. We've showed you medical scams. We showed you probably a rip-off scam. No, I don't think we've done that. This is one of the first scams ever we've done on this broadcast after 8 years. And we've not shown you a scam that's ever... throughout the years, last season we showed you the preacher scam. Four pastors, W.V. Grant, Larry Lee, Robert Tilton, and Benny Hinn. The pastor scams. But there's one scam we've not talked about. A highway robbery. No, we're not talking about a drive-by robbery. We're talking about paying at the pump. We're not talking about that either. We're talking about the gas pumps. It's a scam you may not know of until it's too late. And as we're about to show you, these scammers can really show you some tricks to make you unaware that you're at risk for the paying at the pump. Here's Brian Ross.
This is the Cowboy Bar in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. A big tourist attraction in a state that is full of tourist attractions. From the Wild West towns and cowboy shootouts to the majesty of the Grand Teton and the thrill of legendary Old Faithful at Yellowstone National Park. This summer, an estimated 6 million people will visit Wyoming, one of the top 3 places for Americans who drive to their summer vacations.
When you get your kids in the car and you're taking them to Yellowstone, the last person you want to see is me.
But auto mechanic Gary Jensen says the fact is, a lot of people coming to Wyoming this summer will end up spending more time in a repair shop than in Yellowstone.
And when they get here, a lot of their comments are, well, it was running fine until I filled it up at such and such, and now I've got this problem.
And this is the problem. Clogged carburetors, messed up fuel injectors.
If it gets something plugged up in it, it won't fire into your throttle plate, which is your...
Cars that just don't run. According to Gary Jensen, all too often caused by bad gasoline. Gas that's contaminated or adulterated by gas stations out to cheat motorists. That's what happened to Rose and Jim Core. They ended up in Gary Jensen's Cheyenne repair shop with a car that wouldn't run after just one $10 tank of gas from the wrong Wyoming gas station.
I was mad. I mean, I wanted to find out what was in the gas.
It looked like the wax from one of those lamps that melts the wax and recirculates it. There was a glob like that floating around, clear glob.
Like a lava lamp?
But it wasn't funny when the Corps got the bill. $758 to repair the damage caused by the bad gasoline. And bad gasoline is just one of the ways Americans may be cheated at the pump this summer, in a problem that goes far beyond Wyoming.
There are about 150 million drivers in America. About a third of them are at risk, if you will, to consumer fraud.
Pulver Kyle is the president of the American Automobile Association, the AAA. And this summer, the AAA has issued warnings about bad gasoline and other possible cheating at the pump in some 22 states. States that have no laws on gas quality, or like Wyoming, don't enforce what laws there are.
In those 22 states, on your chart, who's watching out for the consumer at the gas pump?
Right now, really no one is watching out for the consumer.
Anything could be going on there, and no one really is checking out.
That's exactly right.
Look what's being sold as gasoline, for example, in Oregon, another state where there is no gas testing program. At the bottom of this sample, a layer of sediment, some kind of particles that would clog any car engine. This sample looks more like orange juice than gasoline. It's mostly cloudy water with some kind of floating debris or crud on top. There's hardly any actual gasoline in it. It was sold as premium gasoline to a motorist whose car broke down just outside the gas station. And even in those states where someone is trying to check up on gas quality, there are still plenty of problems, as we found in California. There's probably no one in America who's been cheated more at the gas pump than Maria Hernandez of Orange County, California. That's because it's her job to get cheated.
Now we have an undercover tank inside the trunk.
Maria Hernandez is an undercover gas investigator from the state, whose secret weapon is a car with a specially equipped gas tank in the trunk.
So when you open the gas tank,
Pops open like this.
right,
Unscrew the cap.
and it's going not into the car's gas tank,
No.
but into your special gas tank.
Yeah.
What happens most days to Maria Hernandez in a state that does have tough gas quality laws is a roadmap to the kind of problems that may be worse in other parts of the country where no one is looking.
It's a lot of money. It's a big ripoff.
Using hidden cameras, we spent several days on the road with Maria Hernandez as she collected one undercover tankful after another, trying to catch the latest gas scam or ripoff.
How do you feel going around trying to get cheated by gas stations?
Well, I wish it wasn't quite as frequent as it is.
One of the most common forms of cheating is the simple trick of passing off cheaper low-octane gasoline as high-octane or premium.
And is there that much money to be made by cheating
sure.
on octane?
Sure there is. The difference is about 30 cents a gallon. So the average car fills up about 10 gallons, and that's approximately $3 of an overcharge.
And to do that, they have to put the lower octane into the higher octane big
Yeah.
tanks in the ground.
Yeah.
So they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But octane cheating is nothing compared to some of the things California investigators see. In the last year, 1 out of 6 gas stations tested had problems with its gas. Not all of it visible to the naked eye, but including all kinds of crud, sediment, water, even unrefined oil that should never end up in a car engine.
We found just raw crude at a station one.
Raw crude oil?
Just almost. It was a 74 octane gasoline.
What does that do to a car?
Not much. It's real rough on a car.
The technicians at the state lab showed us what happens when gasoline like that is put in a car engine. Pings and knocks, and the so-called knock meter on this test engine, which should read about 0, now up to 80. A full tank of that kind of gasoline could wreck an engine.
They would just park the trucks over top. These places here are the
And just how gasoline like that is ending up for sale in California and elsewhere is one of the dirty little secrets of the gasoline business.
Now, would the customers ever know what they were getting?
No, customer would not know what he was getting.
A secret Ed Scott knows all about. Scott, who used to work for one of California's biggest gas station operators, says what's going on is something called cocktailing, using big tanker trucks to mix gasoline with cheap waste oil that can be bought in large quantities at refineries, where it's known as transmix.
And essentially transmix is slop. It's garbage gas.
They would buy this gasoline garbage, this slop, as you call it,
Right.
and put it in the regular gasoline,
They would mix it in the gasoline.
kind of making a little a cocktail of their own.
Little cocktail of their own. There were times that I saw samples taken out of their tanks where the gasoline looked like chocolate milk.
And there's a long list of California gas stations where state investigators say they have discovered suspect gas, including this Texaco dealership, which has been caught twice since 1987, once after several cars were badly damaged. Most of the stations caught by investigators have been independent gas stations, but the list does include 6 other Texaco dealers cited in the last year. Texaco says it does not tolerate the sale of substandard gasoline by its dealers, and in fact does its own random gas testing. But Texaco would not agree to appear on Dateline, and the fact is, 5 of the 7 Texaco stations on this list continue today to sell gasoline under the Texaco banner. In our week of taping undercover with California investigator Maria Hernandez, we came across one final sneaky scheme to cheat at the pump that astounded even the investigators. It was right at the pump, rigged pumps, in this case, at a big Arco dealer in Orange County.
We need Polaroids of the dispensers and the actual front of the station.
Investigators say they had already been cheated once at the station.
And it was pump number 11. Can I go to the island next to the white van?
And on this day, Maria Hernandez was heading out to see if she would get cheated one more time before taking action.
We are looking for anything over 10.4 gallons.
10.4 gallons is all the undercover tank in the trunk holds. If the gas pump shows a sale of anything more than that, Maria will know instantly she was cheated.
This is pump number 11.
This station had just passed an official inspection of its pumps, but investigators had a tip that there was some kind of remote control device that could turn the cheating on and off.
10 gallons. 10.5 gallons. 11 gallons.
Again, the special undercover tank only holds 10.4 gallons.
11.5 gallons. So they cheated you.
Yes. It was a rip.
To confirm she had been cheated, a team of county waste inspectors nearby conducted a precise measurement of the gas, down to the last drop. Maria paid for 11.6 gallons of gas. She only got 10.3 gallons. A ripoff of $1.60.
A station like that, what can they make, given that kind of cheating in a month, for instance?
I would say it could be anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000
A month?
a month.
Just cheating like this?
Yes.
And this is not the only station out there doing this?
No, it's not the only station doing it.
And then, to check out the tip, the station would stop cheating whenever an official came in. A marked truck from the county waste department was sent to the same pump where Maria Hernandez had just been cheated. As suspected, the pump then gave an accurate reading, more proof for investigators of a very clever cheating scheme. And then it was time to move in and shut the station down.
Hi, station owner here?
The pumps were sealed,
Yeah, no good.
customers turned away, and investigators went looking for the owner.
We have a problem here at your station. Are you able to come down now?
Hi, Brian Ross. Hey, for Dateline NBC News. Yeah, how are you? Did cheating people hit this station? No. When the owner, David Berry, showed up, he wasn't very happy to see investigators, and even less happy to see Dateline camera.
Why? Because you're sitting here accusing me of something I'm not doing. So just get off my property. It's ridiculous.
Well, if you don't have anything to hide.
I don't, but
okay,
I don't want to
that's
have
fine.
this kind of reputation.
But in a backroom circuit box, investigators say they found what they were looking for. A hidden set of remote control switches, which they quickly sealed up. Investigators say the switches could somehow make the counters on the pumps speed up, producing a regular shortchanging of about 10% each time a customer bought gas. You have a switch somewhere you throw? You cheat people?
No.
You don't cheat anybody?
No.
Berry denies it all. The California authorities are now deciding whether to bring criminal or civil charges based on what they found here. Until then, Berry was allowed to reopen, but no longer as ARCO. 24 hours after ARCO became aware of what it called substantial evidence, ARCO canceled its contract with Berry and took down all its signs.
Super unleaded is pump number 3.
Every time Maria Hernandez is cheated at the pump, whether it's rigged pumps, or octane cheating, or adulterated gas, or some other scheme, every time she's cheated,
You're shut down.
there are hundreds, maybe thousands of others who have already been cheated in the same way, but have no way to know it or to prove it. It may be only 30 cents a gallon or $3 a fill-up, but in a business that sells $150 billion a year in gasoline, a little bit can add up to a lot.
This month in Wyoming, where we started our report, complaints from motorists and pressure from AAA led the state to begin testing gasoline for the first time ever. When the full results are in, we'll bring you an update. And if you suspect you've been cheated, experts advise calling AAA and the Office of your State Attorney General. It can help build a case against crooked gas stations.
Make sure you're aware of this. The next time it happens to you, be aware or talk to somebody. All right, we are going to take a break and come back. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Stay with us. Possession of drugs, 30 years to life. Brutal and violence. One had a mandatory sentence, the other probably mandatory or something else. Remember when the drug war happened years ago? Everyone's like saying, get tough. Well, probably no one got tough. And as you're about to see in this report, laws can be tough when the sentence is not mandatory anymore. Here's Deborah Roberts.
It's hard to find two people closer than 21-year-old Nicole Richardson and her mother Angela.
And this is home sweet home.
Last Mother's Day, the two spent the weekend catching up at Nicole's new home, the federal prison camp in Alderson, West Virginia. Nicole is serving a 10-year sentence for drug conspiracy.
Are you guilty of anything?
Guilty of letting something go on without doing something about it. And here, I was a little kid getting mixed up with the wrong people, and I have a 10-year sentence with no possibility of parole, and that is so unfair. That's so unfair.
How did a former high school cheerleader become a federal prisoner? It all started 3 years ago at a former Biloxi, Mississippi night spot called the Fiesta Club. It was the hottest spot for miles around. Teenagers flocked here to drink, dance, and frequently deal drugs. One of the dealers was a good-looking 20-year-old bodybuilder named Jeff Thompson. Nicole met him one night on the dance floor.
So you were in love?
Yes. And as we were dating, that's when I started to realize what he was doing.
And that was fine with you?
It wasn't really fine with me, but I really, really liked him. So I just looked over it.
You did drugs too?
I've experimented with it. At the club, a lot of people were either drinking or on drugs, and I was curious to see what it was about. So I experimented some.
Nicole says she stopped experimenting after she and Jeff became more serious, and she stopped her weekly trips to the Fiesta Club, hoping he would quit dealing. But Jeff was making too much money selling LSD. That is until August of 1990, when one of Jeff's runners, a man named Billy Barnes, drove into this parking lot and sold $6,000 worth of LSD to an undercover cop. Arrested, threatened with a mandatory sentence of 15 or 20 years unless he cooperated, Barnes agreed to tape incriminating phone calls to everyone he knew, including Nicole. He told her how he never got the $6,000 he owed Jeff, money that was supposed to go to a dangerous, unstable drug dealer.
And didn't you get the money back? These people, I ain't kidding, they want to kill somebody.
Wait, when can I get hold of Jeff?
Hold on. Look at that. Okay, 653-5172.
His phone call to Nicole did her in.
Now, in that conversation, it sounds like you're trying to help put him together with Jeff so they can complete this deal. I mean, it sounds like you're involved.
Well, sure. I was worried about my life. I was afraid for both of us.
But two of the drug dealers told a different story. Agreeing to cooperate with the government and avoid long prison sentences, they testified that Nicole was a major player in the drug ring, even though her boyfriend swore she was not. Still, for their testimony against Nicole and each other, the dealers cut deals with the government. None of them is serving more than a 5-year sentence. A few are already out of jail. Richard Shields was Nicole's lawyer.
People were all 20, 21, 22. And you take somebody that age and you tell them either you testify and implicate some people and cooperate with the government, or you're going to get 15, 18 years, which is what we were talking about with some of these people. Well, by God, they're going to start saying whatever they need to say, whether it's true or not is immaterial to these people. And why the government can't see that and the prosecutor can't see that is beyond me.
Nicole insists she had no one to rat on, no way to cut a deal. So she alone went to trial, charged with conspiracy to sell LSD.
In my mind, there was no question but that she had done the things she was accused of doing.
The phone call was set up. 10 years for a phone call, I just don't see it.
Jurors Bruce Goldsmith and Paul Rowland couldn't agree on the evidence. Only Rowland believed Nicole was innocent.
It got to a point where people in the jury room was really getting mad. you know, because they wanted to go home.
So they were getting angry with you for holding out. Did that put pressure on you?
They put a lot of pressure on me. And that's why I changed my mind.
The jurors weren't allowed to consider, weren't even supposed to know, that under the federal mandatory sentencing law, a guilty verdict meant an automatic 10-year sentence. Many are now stunned to learn that Nicole is serving that much time.
I think it was a real travesty of justice. If these are really mandatory sentences, why did the people who were truly harmful to society get off so with such light sentences, and Nicole get the brunt of the punishment?
She didn't hurt nobody. She didn't sell for no kids. She was mixed up. She wasn't dangerous.
If you had known for sure she was going to get 10 years, would you have voted guilty?
We'd still be sitting in that jury room.
But because they voted guilty, the federal trial judge was left with no discretion.
The judge who heard Nicole's case was Judge Alex Howard, a Reagan appointee known for his tough sentences. Yet after her conviction, he said this: "In all of my experience, this case presents to me the top example of a miscarriage of justice, due to the minimum mandatory sentencing, which I abhor, and due to what I deem to be a dreadful mistake in the guidelines."
I have no regrets about my role in this prosecution. I simply did my job.
Assistant U.S. Attorney Gloria Bedwell prosecuted Nicole.
When you look at the outcome of this case, the drug dealers did 6 months, 2 to 4 years. Nicole, who is a character who was just involved in this case, has gotten 10 years. Surely, you can't think that this looks like equal justice.
Nicole Richardson was a convicted drug offender. She has no more or no less culpability under the guideline scheme that has been established by Congress and the Sentencing Commission than any other person in the United States who is similarly situated.
Are the streets safer because Nicole is in prison for 10 years?
Yes.
Do you think the streets are safer because you're here?
No, I don't. Would you be afraid of me if I was on the street?
I keep her room just like she has every little stuffed animal, every little trinket sitting right where she had it when she left. So I want her to feel like she's not been gone when she comes home. I'm not going to stop working till my baby's home.
So Nicole's mother, Angela, has written to Congress, to Attorney General Janet Reno, and even to President Clinton's mother, arguing that her daughter's punishment doesn't fit her crime. If ever there was a doubt in Angela's mind, it was erased a year and a half ago when she met John Dwayne Yarbrough.
My baby was going to call at 8 o'clock, and I knew it. And just as I'm going in the door, the phone rings. And so I just slammed the door. I didn't lock it. All of a sudden, my bedroom door bursts open, and he's there. And before I can say anything, he knocked me backwards, jumped straddle of me.
All of a sudden, she just starts screaming, and I'm sitting here on the phone, and she's screaming, "No!" And she throws the phone down, and I hear it hit the floor.
He throws the phone, finally, and it didn't get on the thing. It fell. And he says, I'm going to rape you, and then I'm going to kill you. And he said, and if you fight, I'm going to kill you and then rape you.
And I was screaming and crying, and I was beating on the door, and I was saying, "Somebody come help me, help me."
And then he starts hitting me, and I turned my head as far as I could, keep him from messing up my face.
Finally, one of the guards had come over, and I told him to call the police, that somebody's killing my mother.
And my mouth fills up with blood, and I'm choking. And I'm fighting, and I don't know what happened after that until all of a sudden he jumps up and grabs the door, and I tried to fight, get past him, and he slammed me upside the wall, and I just started screaming, "Help me, help me," and the police burst in the room and threw him down and handcuffed him. I've never been so glad to see a uniform in my life.
It was really bad because I couldn't get to her, right to the little cell, and there's nothing I could do.
Yarbrough was arrested, and like Nicole, is now in prison. But the crimes he pleaded guilty to, attempted rape and sodomy, are state crimes, and they carry no minimum mandatory sentence. So, counting time served, Yarbrough could be back on the streets by 1996.
You look so good, darling. Thank you.
While Nicole can look forward to prison life until after the year 2000. Her appeal has been denied, and Nicole is learning the hardest lesson under mandatory sentencing: to give up hoping.
It breaks your heart when you have hope and then everything falls through. So I tried just to make the best of it. And if you say, well, I've got 10 years to do, it's easier to handle that than wishing you could go home every day. Because that's not reality.
Both Attorney General Janet Reno and the Supreme Court's Chief Justice William Rehnquist say they are concerned that violent criminals are getting out early to make room for first-time offenders with mandatory sentences. A House Judiciary Subcommittee will begin hearings next month to reconsider mandatory sentencing.
The tough lesson to be learned is don't do drugs. Period. Drugs are bad. They're bad for you. Don't ever do drugs ever again. We'll be right back. Think about this next issue. Can you ever imagine as a parent, the principal calling you in saying we got a problem with your child, and then you discovered that he swore, that he cursed at a teacher in a different language, which was Spanish. Manera sea. Puta. Ooh-ah. It's not funny. As you're about to see from the referral, Oscar called the teacher a bitch in Spanish. He later said he was talking to the ground. He obviously was not. Don't take my word for it. Take a look.
I have you here today because of the referral I received from the gym teacher. And according to the gym teacher, she writes, Oscar called me a bitch in Spanish. He later told me he was talking to the ground. He obviously was not.
So people start to saying things because I never said that word to her. And she's just saying that I did, but nobody heard it.
So Oscar, tell me what happened.
I said marica sea, which doesn't mean bitch at all. And I was looking at the ground at the time when I said that, and I told her that, and she said, no, you were talking to me. And I told her if I would have said it to her, I would have looked at her like face to face.
But what is the word bitch? What is that in Spanish?
Puta.
Oh, puta. Anytime you say anything negative to a teacher, curse or call them a name, is considered verbal abuse. And the policy is like 2 days out of school suspension.
The things you read now, I think that's not that.
The father was very apprehensive, so I decided that the teacher needed to be here. So I sent for Mrs. Scott. Mr. Pacheco came in because of the incident in the gym class with Oscar. And you wrote, Oscar called me a bitch in Spanish. He later told me he was talking to the ground. He obviously was not. Did you hear the Spanish word?
Yes, I did.
What word did you hear?
Puta.
That word is really, really big, but he don't say that word.
Yeah.
Maybe you hear that or something else, but...
And I might have questioned whether or not I heard it had he not taken ownership to it that first day. His first response was, I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to the ground. So he took ownership of saying that word, in fact, and the next day the whole tune changed, where that's not what I said, I actually said this instead. His frustration was taken out on me, and it was very offensive to me.
This is a classic he said, she said, and bottom line is what he said was inappropriate.
And the thing that really upsets me is that his response to me was, oh, well, it doesn't matter, I'll just have my parents come in and get me out of it like they did last time.
Oscar ain't getting out of this one. I'm a little bothered by you would just get your dad to come in. So, Dad, what do you think about? What do you have
Now,
to
when
say?
I hear that, I say, what can I say? Please don't do it again. Because it's not good for yourself.
You crossed the line. You will have 2 days out of school suspension for verbal abuse.
When you come back on Friday, it's a clean slate.
That's right. I think we're all set. I do appreciate you coming in, Mrs. Scott and Mr. Pacheco.
I'll try to stay out of trouble because sometimes I can't control my anger because I think I have anger problems, but most likely I do.
I got no words. No words at all. Except to say, are you out of your mind? Verbal abuse. That's nothing. Nothing compared to this student. He was expelled for using profanity. For inappropriate use of language. You know why? It wasn't just that. He wasn't expelled because of the profanity. He was expelled because he was under a contract. If you go to that school right there, you gotta sign a contract. Which basically means that you had to be passing all your classes, reporting to school on time, and not getting in trouble. You'd have to abide by that contract, and if you don't, you are automatically expelled. No ifs, ands, buts, excuses. But for this kid, let's take a look.
Had a tough day today, huh?
Yeah.
I did not put you on a contract when I met with you this summer.
Yeah, you did.
Do you remember what the contract said?
Said I couldn't get in any trouble.
I will not give any teacher cause to send me out of class. Suspension will result in my
Termination.
termination.
I hope I'm not expelled, because I'm supposed to be graduating this year, and I'm trying to go into college so I can get a good job.
All right, tell me what happened today.
So we were in chemistry class, and he goes, "Oh, Anthony, you're supposed to be doing the work." And I told him, I was like, "I don't have it." And he just got mad at me and kicked me out of class, told me to get out. And that's when I got mad, and I used a couple.
So I want you to tell me what you said to him.
I told him, you Einstein-looking bastard.
What? What is in your head right now?
A lot.
Oh, Anthony, I don't even know what to say to you. You have really got yourself in it this time. You being frustrated and you thinking that what he did was wrong doesn't give you the license to insult him. Do you know that?
Yeah, I know that.
But then why did you do it?
Just because he's a teacher doesn't mean he has the right to kick me out of class.
Yes, he does. Yes, he did. That does mean that. Yes.
For asking a question on the class that I'm trying to ask, I mean, if I would have disrupted the class, if I would have said something, I had the class laughing or I had the class looking at me.
But you can't F him off and insult him.
When I'm trying to work so that I can graduate, so he kicks me out.
That's all you said.
Yeah.
Just that.
Yeah.
As if that's not enough.
He came back and he said that I was saying that I was gonna punch him in his face.
That is what he put in writing to me.
Yeah, and I never said that.
Because that is a threat, you understand?
Yeah, I know.
Anytime a threat is made toward a teacher, we take it very seriously. It holds a very serious suspension and often police action.
I would never threaten a teacher. I would never threaten anyone personally. I never say I'm gonna punch someone. If I'm gonna punch someone in the face, I'm just gonna do it. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna punch you in the face, because you know it's coming.
Oh, I just can't believe this. I'm like sick over this. I really thought you were coming back to get things taken care of this year. I can't allow you back in.
That's fine then.
I gotta tell you, I'm very disappointed. I am absolutely, I feel sick that I have to send you out. But I'm gonna try and find a way that you can still get your diploma. I don't want you getting your GED. I want you to get your diploma. You are dismissed, however, and you're gonna be heading out.
All right.
Take care of yourself. I'll call you soon.
I feel like she had no other choice. I mean, I did sign the contract knowing that if anything did happen, I was getting kicked out of school. So she just had to do what she had to do.
What's particularly frustrating to me is that I want to be able to give kids a break, but this was just too far beyond that. I couldn't. And it's hard for me to have to follow through with that at times.
could be hard for you, but you gotta understand. It's hard for the principal. As a student, you gotta understand here. You would never ever curse at a teacher or use inappropriate use of language. Remember that 16-year-old who assaulted a teacher? He used inappropriate language. He was suspended for 3 days when he wasn't in jail. But he never threatened a teacher. All school threats are taken very seriously. Just talk to Sheriff Chitwood. He'll arrest kids, and not just that, he'll call out the parents. That's what we talked about on that episode when I had a hoarse voice. Just a little. But I have a lot of hoarse voice. But I have a little bit of hoarse voice still in me. But we'll see what happens on a Friday. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. There's nothing more frustrating than being rude and belligerent to your teacher. In that referral that you're about to hear from this student, he was not the only being rude and belligerent. He was kicking a desk over an act of defiance. Take a look.
This is what he says. I asked student to sit in his seat and get on task.
I was on task.
He pushed his desk in an act of defiance.
I wouldn't say it. I didn't think I pushed it. Well, actually, I think I just...
So it just moved?
I just pushed it hard enough to make it go over to its intention spot.
Why'd you do it?
It's because he told me to get up and move. Then he goes in this big rant. You want to throw furniture? You want to throw furniture? And then I was like, I don't think you should do that. No, we don't need that. Calm down.
You told the teacher to calm down.
Yeah, if he wouldn't have freaked out, none of this would have happened. I think he should have done is just take a page out of our book. Just had to be nice and calm about it, because he obviously wasn't going to win the battle, and he may have won the battle, actually, but I won the war.
Vinny, you're wrong. For being rude and belligerent to your teacher, you're going to get 3 days out of school suspension.
Wow. Wow. That's all I got to say is wow. 3 day suspension?
Yes. 3 days suspension.
3 day suspension. I'm very pissed off about that. My mom is going to be very mad when she hears about that. I'm sure I'll be grounded for at least a day, if not a little more.
What the hell did he say?
He obviously wasn't going to...
You told the teacher to calm down.
Yeah.
You never ever tell a teacher to calm down. Don't you ever do that. These teachers are teaching you. They're trying to teach you what parents couldn't teach you. If you do something wrong, they're trying to teach you discipline. Parents try to teach you discipline. The school tries to teach you discipline. It's equal. You don't ever tell a teacher to calm down. Never, ever, ever. If you do, your ass is going to get in trouble. And you'll probably never, ever see daylight again while you're sitting up in your room. The bottom line here is this: don't ever tell a teacher to calm down. Don't use inappropriate language in your schools, and don't be scamming people out of their gas when they gain gasoline. And always learn about food safety. Those are the morals of the story. That's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Wednesday going to Thursday. If my voice feels a lot better, we'll see you again for Give Me a Break Friday. We're coming up on Friday. We're going to take a look at... We're coming up on Friday. We have a story for you all about... We have a story for you about the Harbor Bridge. And not just that. We also have the story... Actually, coming up on Friday, we have an hijacker story. A Friday night special all about hijackers. That's coming up on Friday, on Give Me a Break Friday. Follow us here at YouTube and Give Me a Break. Stop bullying. Speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking. And if my voice feels better, which I think it is a little bit, it's a proven bit, but if it feels better, we're good to go. If it doesn't, we're still good to go. So, good night.